Hi guys, and welcome back to Switch Up. I've been wanting to review this game since I first started playing it about a week ago, but I just haven't had a chance because it's been ridiculously busy, as I'm sure you're aware. The return of the Obra Dinn is one of the most unique and interesting games I've ever played. Should you check it out? Well, yeah, you should, but I want to say let's find out. Let's find out. The story of the Obra Dinn goes that it was beset by a series of tragedies whilst trading for the East India Company. It is a fictional tale, but that shouldn't put you off. The entire game is a series of interconnected mysteries, many of which you'll have to deduce throughout the memory flashbacks that you partake in. The overarching tale is one where you have to discover exactly what beset the ship and all of its crew for, insurance purposes, but things soon become far stranger than you could have imagined. One of the most excellent aspects of storytelling is how before each memory section you're given just an audio clip that will play out the dramatic moments usually prior to a character's death.
What's happened? Sir, loose the cannon! She's nearly over! Watch your flank!
Not only do these serve to add life to what is essentially quite a small and enclosed environment, they allow for the astute player to listen to tiny details, which will then help them with the gameplay, which we'll get onto in the next section. All of the story aspects are recorded in a large book, and as you're able to successfully deduce elements of the story, these will be shown here. What follows then is your quest to discover exactly what befell the poor 66 crew upon the now ghost ship, the Obra Dinn. In terms of the core gameplay and controls, you control the main character, the insurance investigator, from a first-person perspective, able to move around with the left stick and control your camera with the right. You can also interact with items and carry a special watch called the Memento Mortem, which when used over the body of a poor victim of some heinous crime, allows you to rewind time and experience that memory. You're then given a few moments to examine the crime from any angle you choose, which is frozen in time. It's incredibly satisfying to examine these and see small details that perhaps you know other players may not have, which will then help you to deduce the identities of those people in this scene. You'll be quickly referring back to your book and images of the crew to try and pinpoint exactly who these players are. Tiny details like the accents you hear on that initial piece of audio or a name dropped in conversation become paramount to your success.
Oh no! You're cut!
Don't leave me.
Bear up, son. I'll stay with you.
Tell Pete's mother I tried my best.
Aye.
When the game thinks that you've seen enough clues, then you're given the option of identifying who the person was. However, this can be done earlier if you so choose, but your chances of success will be greatly reduced. You won't be told if you've been successful. However, when 3 of your deductions are correct, it will then tell you, and these are shown. The main aim of the game is, as said, to find out who those people were and how they died. Between each memory, sometimes time will advance slightly, allowing you to see the events happening directly prior to the ones you've just seen. It's a very clever system, and you actually begin your tale at the end of the story. This allows the player to keep certain things in memory as you move back, remembering who you've already seen be killed, and then perhaps working out some of the motivations for the events that took place. If you do begin to form theories in your mind, it's very clever the way the game tracks each person. Their memories will be shown in a list, allowing you to quickly reference back and check if your theory is correct. If your initial guess turns out to be incorrect, or you decide that actually perhaps new evidence changes your mind, then you can tweak and adjust this as the game goes on. You're never bound to one single decision. Once you've spent the time carefully analysing the last moments of one of these people, you're then given the option of noting down how you think they died. This is another clever implementation, with all of the different options available in your notebook and the vast array making sure you don't just guess. There is something so satisfying about finally locking in 3 of the deaths and the game removing those from your total list, making the entire thing at touch easier to eventually complete. As I said at the start, it's one of the cleverest implementations of investigative puzzling that I've ever seen. The controls work well and you can navigate other things in the world. You can interact with items, open and close doors, but you won't need to do much more in terms of environmental interaction. The entire experience relies on the player's observation skills and deduction. For me, the gameplay is outstanding. I've absolutely loved it and it deserves more attention, which is why I'm making this review. I give gameplay 19 out of 20. It's not going to suit players that don't like using their brains, and it is a touch slower and requires you to do the legwork, and in all honesty, I loved it for those very reasons. First-person games with the Joy-Cons, they don't feel amazing. The controls work as they would in any other first-person game on a console, but I would have liked to have seen some form of motion control because it's the Switch and it works well. I know that's not for everyone, but for me, it's an option I'd like. Controls score 18 out of 20. The visuals is going to be the area that most people are initially drawn to the game by. The monochromatic style it goes for is something I haven't seen done so well. Not only that, but you're also given the option to change this through several filters in the options menu. Having it look a little more like a Commodore 64, an old IBM PC, and even an LCD monochrome display works really well. In motion, the game looks quite stunning and is obviously running at such a smooth frame rate that it plays very well. The frozen in time memory snapshots look excellent, and it's easy to identify even the smallest details, as the human eye finds it so much easier to see that with this style. The ship itself also looks great, with the sails blowing in the wind, and feels very authentic. Character designs are decent, and using their clothing to identify them becomes a key part of your investigation. For me, the visuals really show how high polygon and pixel counts really mean nothing when it comes to presentation, as artistic choice can be just as important. All I would say is that potentially in a sequel, if we could get a larger environment to experience the adventure in, that may benefit it. As it stands, I give visuals 18 out of 20. Each time you rewind and glimpse into those memories of the last moments of a sailor, you're treated to an audio banquet. The voice acting and sound effects do so much without any on-screen action that by the time the frozen image appears before your eyes, you already know what's taken place.
Get off. Captain Campbell first.
You have a plan?
Yes. Take ship and sail east. Trade wretched fish and shells for gold. Hey, who's there?
Mutiny! Mutiny!
Fresh bastard!
The music, a mixture of string instruments and orchestral stabs, does an outstanding job without ever becoming repetitive. There are certain audio loops which will play when you perform certain actions, but as far as the audio is concerned, everything adds gravitas to proceedings, in what could have otherwise been more of a quiet and potentially dull experience. It's very fitting with the time period and has a Britishness about it, with enough foreboding undertones to heighten the more dramatic scenes taking place on screen. Audio scores 19 out of 20. The game costs £17.99, €19.99 or $19.99, and the game length will really depend on you as a player. You could potentially get to the end of it and have made several mistakes and need to go back over the details, but it's not a short game by any means, and it's one that feels entirely complete. It benefits from being able to pick up and play a few of the memories and then put the game back down for a while and return as and when. But if I'm completely honest, I picked it up and couldn't put it back down again. It's so engaging. I would say that the price is a touch on the higher side in comparison to some other games on the eShop, but this is one of those that has no real competition on any platform, and for that reason, it's still scoring well in the value department. I'd say that most players would be able to finish it in around about 12 hours, but that if you want to get every detail correct, it might take you far longer. Value scores 18 out of 20. It's not going to take Sherlock Holmes to figure out that I really enjoyed this game. It can be difficult to take out the enjoyment factor and look at the game critically, and even doing that I found it very difficult to spot any real flaws in the game's design. It sets out to present an intriguing mystery and wants to rely heavily on the player's abilities to solve the case. And it does exactly that. I love that when Lucas Pope designed this, he said, you know what? I don't really care if anyone even buys it. This is a story I want to tell, and it shows. It's a real love letter to games in general, and in my opinion is a must purchase. It scores a switch up score of 92%. A huge thanks to all of you who support us down in the comments. We have a right laugh down there, and Glenn and I both really appreciate it. If you are a long-term supporter of the channel and you wanted to check out our Patreon, all the links will be down below. A big thanks to all of you that support us, and as always, for all things Switch all the time, keep it Switch up. Cheers guys, see ya!